Dun, dun, dun. Showtime. Okay, so welcome to the November New York Enterprise Collaboration Meetup. It's 12:15. We've got 45 minutes of absolute packed session with an MVP who was at Ignite last week. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes before people join. So we're using Microsoft Live streaming. So there's a Q&A. So feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. I'm going to add a question. I'm going to add a hi here. So feel free to add a question, and we'll field these questions through the Q&A. And that's at the top right-hand corner. Okay, on the host, I've got Aaron. How many people are currently logged in right now as guests?
Right now, we are currently at 1.
Okay, I see one attendee. Okay, so we'll give it so steady on that. Okay, on that. So while we're just doing that, Gerard, just tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you currently right now? It looks like you're sort of like in the basement of a concrete bunker.
Yes, this is Jared Matfess. I'm actually working in Slalom Hartford. It's a business and technology consulting firm. I'm in one of our phone booths. So it's a soundproof, isolated fortress of solitude that I get to present to you all about my my trials and tribulations at Ignite last week.
Okay, and I haven't stuck you in here for 8 hours, have they? No. You've been in there for 2 days now.
2 days. Hair's starting to grow back.
I have seen these phone booths actually, and you know, I've seen they're quite popular actually in offices, and I think they're pretty good because I for one, I know I have a very loud voice, and I know it projects incredibly far across the office. And you know, it's like I've been surprised that some people actually said, "So tell me about this." I said, "Well, how do you know about this? I can hear you talking about it." You know, on that. Okay, so we'll just give it 2 more minutes, and then we'll start off. So, Gerard Matthews, how long have you worked with SharePoint?
That's a great question. I've been working with SharePoint over 10 years. I think I've lost track though. So okay. Back in 2007 is when I started.
All right. Okay. Very cool. And on that. And last week you were at Ignite, which I know is going to be the talking point of this of this meetup. So, what was the best after party you attended? That's probably the most important question people are going to ask you.
So, I think that's a kind of a 2-part answer. So, the best party that I went to was the attendee celebration at Universal Studios. So I'm a huge roller coaster fan, so I got to ride the Hulk, which is bar none, that is the smoothest roller coaster I've ever ridden. It was so much fun. About 25 minutes, and then I'd say after party was the hotel bar when we kind of celebrated the after celebration party. So it was a lot of fun just hanging out with a bunch of my coworkers were there, so it was nice just pulling people together and hanging out.
Wow, I didn't realize you were such a party animal.
I didn't either.
Tell me, is that where the Star Wars theme park is?
Oh, I believe that actually that's at the Hollywood Studios at Disney.
Okay, so you didn't go. That wasn't where the party was, though, was it?
No, it was the Universal Studios.
Okay. And isn't there a Harry Potter themed park there?
There are 2 Harry Potter themed rides. So there's one at the Islands of Adventure, and then one at just the Universal Studios proper.
Okay, very cool. Okay, people are popping into the into the teams. So just very quickly, if you have any questions, feel free to field the questions through the live Q&A. It's on the right-hand side, and there's a little question mark icon, and that will field those questions. So, Gerard Matthews, I am going to hand this over to you, and I'm going to basically allow you to share your screen.
Okay.
So you're now on the start.
Okay, I appreciate everyone, sharing your lunch hour with me. So again, real quick, so this is going to be a recap of what I think are some of the highlights from Microsoft Ignite, mostly focused on Office 365 and a little bit of Azure. So obviously there was, hundreds of sessions, so this doesn't cover all of them, but just some of the ones that I've cherry picked out as things to be aware of. Being that this is just the second day back from Ignite, it's a little rough. So, we're going to do our best. We're going to cover some of the highlights. People have questions. I'm going to let Peter field those. right now I'm sharing my desktop and I cannot see any of the Q&A coming in. So if feel free to stop me at any point.
Absolutely.
But with that, let's get into it.
All right, go for it.
Cool. So very quick of who I am. So my name is Jared Matfess. I'm a practice area lead for technology here at Slalom Hartford. I manage a team of 24 folks. As Peter said, I'm a Microsoft MVP in the Office Servers and Services category. I've been MVP for 4 years. I love craft beer, and I run the Hartford 0365 user group. So there's the meetup link if you want to ever stop through Hartford and meet me in person.
Great.
And that beautiful little dog in the middle, that is my wife and my it's our little baby Spoopy. She's a pug we've had for 9 years now. We got her before we got married. So if you've ever seen one of my presentations, I usually sneak a picture of her or a pug into those. So,
and what's her name?
Her name is Spoopy.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Yep. And with that, I'll keep going. I don't really like to have agendas. I like to just hop right into it. And so I thought it'd be clever to start out this with Yammer. And the reason why is the big hashtag for Ignite 2019 is hashtag Year of Yammer. And what's important to know is Microsoft, there's been a lot of kind of whirl and swirl about, is Yammer dead? Is it going away? Is Teams taking over? And, this hashtag is really, Microsoft's response saying, no, Yammer's not only gone, we're kind of doubling down and we're making some significant investments in the platform to make it more useful, more relevant, and sort of drive additional collaboration within 0365.
Right. So Yammer is not getting the hammer.
Yammer is not getting the hammer. And I've got a real quick video that I was going to play just to show you kind of some of the highlights of the investments that Microsoft's making. As you can see, they're showing off the new model.
Very slick here. So clearly with Yammer, there's this conversation is like there's an overlap between the Yammer and Teams, isn't there? In a lot of that's the question we get all the time at SoHo Training.
So Microsoft just gave me $5 for playing that video. Thank you very much. No, I'm just joking.
Okay, you're playing it twice more. Yeah.
But to get to your question, right, Peter? So you're absolutely right. There is some overlapping from a conversational perspective, but what Microsoft is doing is they're really positioning Yammer underneath these 4 different pillars. So leadership engagement, and that's really trying to connect, senior leaders to individual workers through live events, through town halls, through having open dialogues around things, collecting information. They're also saying that Yammer is the place where you go for company-wide communication, whereas Teams is more focused on a working group of individuals that's trying to accomplish a given task. They position that knowledge sharing is going to be another key cornerstone to Yammer, just in terms of pulling out that information from employees and helping to bring on new individuals to organizations and have them come up to speed quicker, along with employee experience, and just and that's really through driving connections across the organization. So maybe having like a new joiners community, or maybe having something area where people are retiring. That's an area for people to sort of announce those retirements, or people that are interested around a particular topic. It's really about bringing and having people have a positive experience by just connecting with their colleagues.
So would you say then that Yammer is much more like a broadcast tool to an organization?
I would say broadcast, and really about driving deep connections across different areas. So while Teams is very focused on accomplishing tasks and driving team-based, project-based collaboration, Yammer is more about enterprise conversations and enterprise experiences. So as we have like the younger workforce coming in, they're looking for deeper connections with their organizations, and Microsoft is positioning Yammer as the tool for enabling that.
Right. Okay. Very cool.
And then obviously the on web, on mobile, it's across the entire service.
Mhm.
So nice little Microsoft slide.
Right.
Talking about the UX, because I think that that's a key component. So, obviously it looks a little bit different. The term Yammer Group is going to be going away. It's now going to be called Yammer Communities. The old Yammer profile is going to be deprecated. It's going to leverage instead the Office 365 people card. So I think that's a pretty important distinction. The news feed or your activity feed is going to be powered by the graph. So you're going to have a similar experience to what you have in Microsoft Delve. Search is going to be fully integrated, and I've got a whole section that talks about Microsoft Search. On the kind of the second pillar, you're going to be able to do more branding, which includes your logos, having a cover photo for the various communities, pinning posts, closing out conversations that need to be completed, some additional filters, quite a bit of enhancements to the all company, so you're no longer going to get notifications when people join the all company, which is kind of just a bit of noise. Building on the third pillar, so it's really about, this is more about that broadcast, Peter, as you kind of alluded to, more investments in the live event capabilities, being able to do both, studio produced live events as well as self-service, which is really just kind of almost what we're doing today. Someone with a device with a webcam, being able to create that live event and be able to host that through Yammer. Q&A, like as we're seeing through Teams. And so again, I don't want to speak to all the different boats, but there's just a lot of investments that are being made in Yammer. And looking at the UX, on the UX side as well, they're using what's called Fluent, the new design pattern and library. So you'll notice it looks quite modern, quite sleek. And the one thing to bear in mind too, if you saw the screenshot, was today Yammer is just you just keep scrolling and see the various posts. They're going to have separation of conversations using cards. So if you look at the conversation, will be within a white card. Or dark if you're using, or black card if you're using the dark mode, but that helps to provide some separation from the various conversations. So, so I think so these are pretty good changes that are being made to Yammer, which we're going to
quite a radical change to the traditional interface.
Yeah, and it's definitely focused more on users. It's definitely user focused. It's to make it easier, more intuitive, and to hopefully drive additional adoption.
Very cool.
Just in terms of how it's going to work is at some point users will start to see the new Yammer toggle, and I think we saw that as Microsoft is bringing out the new Outlook Web Access experience. So again, that'll be a toggle that'll come out, and then next people will be able to kind of default to the new Yammer experience, and then but with the ability to opt out, and then eventually there'll be the ability just to have everyone have the new Yammer experience.
So a question came in.
Yeah.
Okay, a question actually came in from David. Says it would be quite cool if it had more functionality integration between Yammer and Teams. Now, I looked at Yammer years ago, and am I correct that the user, it's not AD, or is it now AD? Is that now all integrated now?
It's all integrated now into one Office 365 profile. David, you're stealing a slight bit of thunder, but let me see if I get to your question about the integration with Teams. I feel like I have a slide. Yes, I do. So this is just to give you quite kind of like the roadmap. It's funny with Microsoft, there's no consistency how they do roadmaps in the various sessions, but here was a good one that I thought would be worth sharing. And again, I'll touch on that question that came in. So first in the top left-hand corner, so the first half of next year is when the new Yammer experience will be generally available. Along with Q1, we're going to see the live events and video enhancements. I breezed over it quickly, but by the end of this year, there's going to be new compliance capabilities, which is really going to cover e-discovery, which has been lacking up until this point. Looking on the bottom, which I think are again, we're driving towards the question, is there's been investments made in both the SharePoint web part as well as the Yammer app for Teams. So these are going to be full fidelity, it's going to have the new user experience. But I think, SharePoint, we've seen it before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But the one that I think is most important is the one that they're doing in Teams. What we're seeing Microsoft do is say, hey, it might not be necessary for people to go to Yammer on its own. It probably, Microsoft really wants people to go to Teams and have that be the collaboration hub for doing work. But having the Yammer app for Teams is really going to be that you're in Teams, you click on that, and you have a full fidelity Yammer experience within Teams. Likewise, on the right, you'll see Yammer and Outlook. So if you receive if you've ever been part of a Yammer group, which is now going to become a Yammer community, the notifications are just out of control. There's a lot of emails that you get. The cool thing about that, though, is what they're addressing is you'll be able to actually interact with Yammer through Outlook. And what I mean by that is you'll be able to like posts or contribute to the conversation directly within Outlook, which is a huge enhancement. So I think it's, again, kind of hitting the message of, Yammer is going to be sort of that glue between the various services, but you don't have to go to Yammer to have to interact with it, which is pretty powerful.
Cool. I like it.
I thought that was kind of a cool. I figured I'd like start that thing off with a bang and just kind of show you like, hey,
So
that's Yammer.
So are you saying it's all downhill from now from here in terms of the okay, in terms of the features and the announcements? Okay.
I personally think it's going to get a little bit better, but as a guy that likes to shake things up a little bit, I thought it'd be fun to shake things up with Yammer.
All right, cool. Go for it.
Hopping into SharePoint, and this is kind of my near and dear to my heart. I'm going to hit you right with just roadmap right to start. So again, available soon. So we've got some enhancements to home sites. So those are rolling out now. Audience targeting for news and pages. So again, that's something we've had since like 2007. So Microsoft is 12 years later making us complete with the modern experience. There's some additional enhancements being made to branding, which is like definitely if you've done work for a large organization or interacted with communications, number one request you always get is how do you make SharePoint not look like SharePoint, or how do you include an organizational's branding and colors and themes. There's additional capabilities rolling out for that. There's some enhancements being made to pages and news and web and various web parts. Vertical sections are available now. I think there's a couple other ones that are. What was the other one I wanted to spike out?
So really, the modern is the name of the game. There's more announcements with modern. Is that really what you're trying?
And it's really I say it's tough because this is like the inner skeptic of me, which is coming to bear. Is just it's making, I would say it's making modern sort of match the capabilities that we've had with classic was quite a bit.
Okay, so. As you know, when modern came out, everyone was saying, "Oh yeah, we need to move on to modern," but the functionality wasn't quite there in modern than what it was in classic. Okay, that gap's obviously got smaller over the years, but now is it sort of like on par, or has it still got a little bit to go?
It's still got a little bit to go, and actually that's a good little segue into the early next year, because that's got some of the key ones, at least in my mind. So page scheduling. So if you ever work with corp comms, they like to get their articles staged up. And then they want to go and have, like, say 10 o'clock on Mondays when all the news articles get published. You can definitely do that with Microsoft Flow, but that's used to be kind of a native capability within the publishing process. So looking to include that early next year. Audience targeting for navigation, that's something we've had for a while. That's coming out. Multilingual publishing. So, I mean, the multilingual story has never been clean. It's always been kind of a bit of a pain to get that to work, but it's pretty much non-existent today in modern. They're looking to include that early next year. Looking at hubs, there's kind of this concept of hubs. So being able to have your corporate intranet be a hub, having perhaps a business unit being a hub of its own, which is connected to that, and then having again, it's really about driving that global navigation across various SharePoint site collections, along with addressing some of the analytics. Looking at early next year, you saw that Yammer has gone like full Fluent. So they're looking to bring Fluent into SharePoint, along with some additional header capabilities, some themes. I don't want to read all of them, but just kind of the ones I want to pull out. The other one that was kind of interesting is that last one is that SharePoint Spaces. So, I still am a skeptic of like that being a true capability that's solving a real business problem. I kind of feel like they're looking for a problem to solve with that capability. And for those that aren't quite familiar, it's sort of an AR type of solution where you kind of use a headset to interact with SharePoint. Having conversations with individuals, trying to figure out, where that might be applicable. I've heard maybe if there's something as a super top secret document that you only want someone to have eyes on, maybe building something out with SharePoint Spaces where it confirms your identity, sees who you are based on you being in that headset, and then other people can't look over your shoulder. I feel like that's a huge stretch. I've talked to people about maybe having, if they have like kind of one of those project rooms or war rooms set up and having things on the walls, using SharePoint Spaces to sort of recreate that for people that are remote, to be able to see the walls and see the Post-its are on there. Right. Again, I'm not quite sold that that's
going to be useful in a Star Trek movie.
Yeah, it's that's what it is. It's a Star Trek experience with SharePoint, and I don't know if we're there yet.
Right.
So, I don't
Okay.
know. But yeah,
I saw that. I thought it was like a solution looking for a problem. I can kind of see where it's going, but quite often it's almost like, okay, where's the business case? Like with
exactly.
Yammer, you could definitely see there's a business case because there's a gap between people about information, announcements, events, broadcasting information. Yeah, you can see, okay, this is the problem and this is the solution for the problem.
Right. You're absolutely right. So yeah, I'm not quite sold there on SharePoint Spaces. I imagine, and from what I've heard too, like there's an invite only sort of public preview of it. I think they're still probably trying to figure out which organization has that use case for them to really tout this as being a capability. And I don't think it's there yet. So
okay, cool.
Showing just a couple of things out there. So I want to highlight a bit of kind of what's already kind of rolling out today and what's coming. So they spent a lot of money coming up with a new experience for creating lists. So if you're working with SharePoint, obviously lists are the foundation of it. This is like the most significant enhancement that we've seen to lists, and it's really about being able to create lists from templates, but smart templates. So this is starting to roll out right now, which would allow you to, if you have a really heavy list of columns and all that, you can use this experience as to help create a new list from that, which is not using the old kind of a list template technology. So this has been completely redone.
But that's not new though. The lists all went modern.
With modern, correct. So that previous one, yeah. So this is coming to modern, and this is going to be a new way of creating lists from templates with a little bit more smarts to it.
Okay.
The next one that I think is a little bit more fun is it's kind of a user experience thing. So being able to click on that little expand button up at the top right-hand corner and have your list take up more of the screen. So again, it's a quick hide of the left-hand navigation, just allowing users to spend their time focusing on what exactly needs to get done. So obviously the left-hand navigation might not be as important as someone's trying to update records. So this is coming out pretty soon. A new sort of rolling out now is a new way of being able to, and this is through modern again, the show, hide, reorder columns. So again, just kind of a new experience for that, managing columns and forms. Again, this has been out before, so conditional formatting of columns. So you can do this say with JSON, and what they're doing is allowing you to create these conditions using just using the UI. So being able to have, if an expiration date is passed, having that row be highlighted red, or having a rule be on in that second column in compliance, having a green check mark if the answer is yes. So while you can do that say in JSON, they're looking to make that capability available for people that don't want to use JSON to format their list, which is pretty cool.
Understood.
Cards. This is kind of an interesting thing. So there's going to be more card views brought out. And we're going to get to this a little bit later. So this is obviously it's kind of the enhancing the kind of content query sort of view of being able to roll up data and then present that within the page. This is going to actually be the next gen display templates. So hint, hint, I'm going to be talking about that in the search section about kind of the impact that cards have and how that definitely want to pay attention to this. So more to come on this. So available now, you can do Power Apps to create forms and lists, and really the same capability will be coming out to document libraries pretty soon. So early next year is the plan. So as you're entering records into lists or non-document libraries, you'll be able to have this sort of rich Power Apps experience for replacing that form. So get another positive user experience. So again, kind of these quick things. So this is more automation with flows, being able to receive email reminders when a date is coming up. So that's available today. We already have a lot of sign off and approvals, so that's today. There's going to be more complex automations and workflows coming. I'm just going to kind of leave that as a pin for. I have a section on the Power Platform that I'm going to get to in a little bit. Talks more about kind of what that is. And then this is more about connecting web parts. So we've had this for a while, be able to have you update, make a change in one list and it'll update the view on another web part on the page. So this is just showing connecting web parts. So we've had that for quite a while. Now this is coming back. So we're making modern great again. Oops, too soon.
Making modern the future.
So again, I'm gonna actually breeze over this because we talked about this, but just really what's coming soon, what's available next year, and top of mind. These slides are gonna be available in the meetup, and with 20 minutes to go, I want to just cover some more content. That was a quick view of SharePoint. And a quick plug, the folks that are on the SharePoint product team have a podcast out called the Intro Zone. If you haven't listened to that before, it might be worth picking up. Jeff Teeper, head of I think he's executive or senior vice president of SharePoint. Like he's been on there, he's been interviewed. This is where you get to hear some of the things that are coming and kind of the view of the product team. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, definitely do that. Hopping from SharePoint to Teams. I'm just gonna hit you with all the announcements in one slide. I borrowed this from Chris O'Brien. I thought he did a great job because I couldn't find good slides from the Teams group. But hitting the number one ask has finally been solved. Private channels.
Private channels. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Gonna talk about private channels. So on the back end, private channels are separate site collections. As a SharePoint guy, I don't love that. From what I've seen in the UI, you can't really distinguish, what that SharePoint site collection is tied to. So I think that that's probably some feedback that's gonna be hitting them pretty hard. You're not gonna proliferate a lot of site collections on the back end, but again, we just solving for the problem of having, private channels. Coming out now is so now, I mean, it should be in most people's tenants like now, which is awesome. Along with now is the new file experiences. So those should be rolling out pretty soon too, if not already in your tenant. That's kind of having the same fidelity that as you're working with files in SharePoint, you'll have that same kind of capabilities within Microsoft Teams. I'm gonna kind of look to see if there's ones that I want to. I'm gonna pick on the one in the middle, better multitasking. So today you're kind of limited to your Teams experience as one window. There's going to be the ability to sort of have pop-out windows, so you can have folks that do multi-screens. You can have one window which is you having private conversations, another window could be you participating within a meeting, another window of you kind of working on files. So as someone that does lots of sort of context switching, having multi-windows is fantastic. I am welcoming that with warm open arms. Whiteboard integration, that's cool, but not anything I want to touch too much. The one that I'll hit real quick is SMS single sign-in or sign-in for first-line workers. So we're going to also talk about that briefly in the Azure AD section, but people that are out in the field are going to have the ability to log into O365 and also with Teams, having their phone receive a text message versus having a username and password. So that's pretty darn powerful. So those are kind of one more. Consolidation of tasks in Teams. There's going to be a sort of a roll-up of Planner and To-Do and Outlook tasks in one view in Teams coming out in early 2020. So trying to sort of bridge or stitch together the tasks ecosystem to one area under Microsoft Teams. Okay.
There's been a lot of talk with what about Microsoft? They brought Wunderlist out and they put the to-do list. So it's good to see that they really beefed up the to-do list.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. So hopping from Teams to the Power Platform, in case you missed it, Microsoft Flow is now called Microsoft Power Automate. I am going to be honest, I don't love the new name, but it is what it is. Looking quickly at what the Power Platform is, so it consists of Power BI, Power Apps, so we know this too. Power Automate is really Microsoft Flow, and the new kid on the block is Power Virtual Agents. And so really easy, what that is being able to build chatbots using the bot framework with a more of a friendly user interface. So less code, more chatbots. So this is Microsoft's current view of the Power Platform, right? With data connectors, with being able to build portals, AI Builder, and the Common Data Service that supports all those four workloads. The cool new big announcement along with Power Automate is the ability to do RPA. So RPA, or robotics process automation, is being able to automate repetitious tasks and having a bot or a bit of code do that for you. There's a public preview that kicked off November 4th, which is going to allow for attendance. So that's basically a human kicks off the bot to go perform an action. What's going to be coming out next year is unattended. So again, having things run on workloads, probably most likely in Azure, that'll be able to do things automatically based on experiences that come in. So there's a private preview that you can sign up for. Microsoft is now getting into the RPA game, which is cool. So they're going to be in good company with, Automate Anywhere, Blue Prism, UiPath.
Just for some people, RPA, just give us a quick Reader's Digest. What exactly is RPA?
So the acronym stands for Robotics Process Automation. And it's really, it's automating repetitive tasks where for example, the classic one is, claims processing for insurance. So today a person might, receive a claim and they have to grab the information from the claim and pre-populate that into their claims processing system. It's usually something that might get faxed in. What RPA would do is it could do a screen scrape of the various fields and have it automatically enter those into the claims processing system without human intervention. The humans would probably do more of a QA to it, but the bot is doing kind of the heavy lifting. So it's really being able to automate that, and it's more about assisting. It's assisting humans, not replacing humans.
Right, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, so there's just I think what Microsoft's trying to say is there's lots of scenarios that are prime for automation. Flow covers a lot of it, but there's just more that can be done with RPA. So that's why they're getting into the game. So again, kind of like what's coming, the unattended is going to be very, very powerful. Talk about, looking at where I've seen a lot of RPA activity is, ERP systems, having tasks that run automatically to help process and help to make the business more money and to help offload things from users, from humans. So that, and again, I'm going a little bit quick, but I want to make sure I cover 63 slides. I'm about probably a quarter of the way through, so I'm just kind of keep plowing through.
Okay. 15 minutes left. Perfect.
Now, real quick update on Office apps. So the ones we have today are on computers, right? So you've got your, typically when you interact with O365, it's through the Microsoft Office platform, but they're rolling out 2 new apps. So there's gonna be one app for Windows 10 and one for mobile. So the Office 10 app on Windows 10 is gonna be more of a launching point, kind of like when you go to office.com. And that's going to help trigger, they'll have a view of, documents you've recently interacted with, what's trending around you, a quick launch to obviously, Outlook or Word, Excel, and all that. But the bigger announcement, I think, is they're going to have one Office mobile app to rule them all for mobile. So, as an iOS user, I've got, the mobile version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They're going to roll those all up into one Office mobile app. So I will receive now, instead of having 3 400 meg updates every month, I'm going to have one. It's going to be 500 meg update. So that's kind of cool. Quick little view of the Office app for Windows. So again, you're going to be able to brand this. So, obviously Contoso Electronics, major manufacturer and reseller of amazing electronic capabilities. You can brand that experience. So right now you can't brand the Office.com experience. You will be able to brand the app experience. Okay. And if you would like to, you can, so the iOS preview has been locked out. So if you scan that, you can't do it. But if you're an Android user, you can go get the preview version of the Office mobile app. So there's something with iOS or with Apple that doesn't allow them to have more than 10,000 people sign up to a preview. Unfortunately, I think they blew that in the second day of Ignite. So cool stuff. Oops, that was an out of place slide. I'm going to keep going. Sorry about that. It was a little bit of a late night. So, search is getting a lot of investments made to it, which is amazing. So, first off, Microsoft Search is going to be the experience that can proliferate through everything, through your Office web apps experience, through your Office client experiences, through your Office mobile experiences. It's going to be, when you search there, you're searching across all the services. That is huge. That's trying to really unifying and kind of have a common experience throughout, no matter how you're using O365.
So are you talking about Delve here as well?
Graph on the back end, yes. So Delve search, bring it all together into one experience and have it be consistent across no matter where you're searching from, you're hitting all the different endpoints. I have the list because there's quite a few, and I've got quite a few search slides. The two I want to poke out as being kind of important is they made some improvements on people search relevancy along with fuzzy matching, nicknames, natural language. So really trying to understand how people are searching and translating that to the content they're looking for. But just as important, the acronym search. So in large organizations use acronyms to describe programs or projects. They are looking to improve the relevancy results within search. Again, this is kind of just highlighting that same search experience is going to hit SharePoint and OneDrive, but more importantly, you are going to be able to create custom search results pages in SharePoint. That is huge. Anyone that has built an intranet on SharePoint Online and Modern, we've been missing be able to create that custom search experience, a custom search results page. That is coming. There's going to be sort of out of the box as well as extensibility through the SharePoint framework. So very, very cool stuff in SharePoint and OneDrive. That is also going to proliferate not just to Modern, but also to Classic. So going to be able to handle that as well. And then videos. So videos will now be a new vertical through the search results page. So that's coming out. That's going to be coming out pretty soon. Very, very cool. Because again, as you're publishing more videos to Microsoft Stream, be able to search for those through one common experience. That's awesome. And I wish I was in the session because I probably would have clapped for it. But being able to also have not just have custom verticals. As the example here is they showed videos, but then the second one next to it is books and training based on content types. But you can also have custom refiners. So that has been desperately missing since SharePoint 2013. So we're making Modern closer to the old classic experience we had before. Again, custom search results page. Again, we talked about that highlight, and the cool thing is they're recognizing that if a thing doesn't fit, if kind of the capabilities they have don't work for all users, being able to allow extensibility through the SharePoint framework, which hint, it's probably going to get renamed at some point to not be SharePoint framework, be more of like Office 365 framework, because we're going to be able to build these components that can be reused across other services, not just SharePoint.
Okay.
And then search administration. So they're going to make this easier to manage search. So rolling up analytics, being able to configure best bets and everything in Q&A, like all through one experience. You need to the little highlight at the bottom, SRCH20, view that session. They did go do a deep dive as to all the capabilities that are coming to search. It's huge. Really significant investments are being made. And the other cool thing, I've built one of these before, so I'm really happy that it's getting concluded, is feedback. So having it so that a user can submit feedback if the results come back are useful, being able to have that fed back to an administrator to be able to take action on, to help and work with content owners to make content more easily accessible through search. Having that closed feedback loop is I think it's kind of key to improving the search experience. And I'm definitely not talking to all this because I've got a few more sections and I want to cover it. But again, quick snapshot of the roadmap of search. Lots coming next year, which is pretty exciting. So this is the big one. This is the one I kind of kept it towards the end because I wasn't sure timing-wise this might be how we end, but I have a few more after this. So Project Cortex. So this is the first new service in a couple of years since Teams that's being built on top of Microsoft 365. This is completely focused on knowledge management. This is really to help address the issue of as you move more and more data into O365, as you have people working in their OneDrive and moving that to Teams, and intranets being built in SharePoint Online and lots of portals and more content. Like, how do people find information and how do you sort of extract out the human information, which is perhaps not in PowerPoints just yet? They are building this brand new service called Cortex. It's very, very cool. This is kind of like their splash page of all things it can do. Again, just to give you one or two things to take away, this is all focused on knowledge management. I'm going to dig into it a little bit, right? So it starts out as being the smart process ingestion, which is really they're going to start mining your content within Office 365. When I say mining, it's really they already have it indexed, but this is throwing a layer of artificial intelligence on top of it. It's extracting out key phrases. It's also training the model. So without having to be a data scientist, having to build the model, it's training the model that they have. It's it's engaging with users to collect information, to iterate. It's also connecting people to experts within that around that topic. So very, very powerful capabilities in Project Cortex.
Is this in beta at the moment then?
It is in beta. Yes, it is being heavy beta. I've got a slide that talks about like being able to apply for a public preview, but this is 2020 stuff.
Cool.
This is also going to include enhancements to managed metadata. So managed metadata has not been touched in many years now. They're rolling out a brand new user interface for that. There's going to be enterprise content terms and types that are going to be created. There's going to be auto tagging of content with metadata. There's going to be suggestions of content, and it's all going to be secured using permission. So it's just kind of like you have security trimming with search. Project Cortex is going to abide by that same philosophy for the content. Again, a couple quick highlights. So again, it's a new content type gallery that'll be published across all the services, and that's I think the key thing. This is not just a SharePoint thing. This is a SharePoint thing, a Teams thing, a Yammer thing, a OneDrive thing, a Stream thing. It's touching all the various services. It's supporting the ability to import industry standard taxonomies into it to help categorize content. It's providing suggestions for what content is. It's published. It's new content types. It's enhancing the enterprise content type hub. This is really a huge sort of. It's enhancing the enterprise content management capabilities within Office 365. So really, just kind of quick, kind of how it works is. So at first, AI is going to mine for topics from unstructured content. So if you've got files out on Teams and SharePoint sites, it's going to identify things that they think are topics. It's going to, or a human can suggest that a topic might be worth pulling together. The human or the AI will confirm it. Mining is going to continue to enrich that topic, finding experts, finding relevant documents. Knowledge is kind of being structured at that point. From a lifecycle perspective, eventually that topic will no longer be active. So it's going to be worth it's going to be archived. When a topic is no longer needed, or valid anymore, maybe it's I don't know, something that's just been divested off, that can be removed from this. But this is sort of like how the technology is going to interact with the humans to enrich the knowledge management platform. And a couple of quick screenshots. So this is a view of the Knowledge Center. You notice card-based, so definitely Microsoft doubling down on cards. They're going to have topic cards, so it's going to create these pages and where you can find additional information. And it's also going to, when it's fully lit up, when there's words like, so that's Project Core, it's an example of, it's going to identify that as being a topic. You can hover over that and get more information. Who are the experts? What are the files I need? And what is the information I need to know about Project Core? There you can find out what are trending knowledge topics within your organization. And then finally, to kind of close it out, the full chat experience. So having a conversation between Emily and Lynn are talking. And so once kind of they figured out that, hey, this is an important topic, they figured out to extract this information from the conversation. They're saying, hey, KnowledgeBot, add question and answers part of construction operations reliability. So taking that information and feeding that back into the topic, that's huge. So it's going to mine, it's going to interact through bots. Like, this is really helping to provide a mechanism to build knowledge management within an organization.
Okay, you've got 3 minutes left.
Cool. So going really quick, this is probably this perhaps might where I end it, but just again, it's kind of they're building some connectors. They're working on it right now. Early next year, a V1 of it's going to come out, and just that's again kind of read the slide. I want to hit, and again, just join the private preview if you want. With 3 minutes, I'm going to hit really quick. Capability coming out for Azure AD. Frontline workers management is going to be able to create users and manage users and have those people log in through SMS, which I think is pretty darn powerful because there's some people that don't need a username and password. And then second, the My Apps and My Account sign experience, those are going to be updated. There's a public preview going on right now. It's just making it easier, more intuitive, more fluid experience to access your apps. So a couple of just kind of cool enhancements are coming to Azure AD. And then finally, I will round it out with, these are good slides. We're stealing kind of the when to use what, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams. So I would steal these. It's funny, a couple of my folks have recreated these slides before, but it just sort of shows that, OneDrive, where you work with all of your files, Teams is where you work with your team and collaborate on those files, and you have chats and calls and meetings and all that. And then SharePoint is really across the organization. Again, with intranets, intelligent content management, distributed knowledge, all that. So I thought those are kind of some cool slides that were worth stealing. And so with that, I've got about 40 seconds to spare. That was a quick download of what I experienced at Microsoft Ignite. And I'm sorry I went a little fast, but there was just so much to share in such a small amount of time. And so hopefully that made people feel good.
Thank you so much on that. A great job, as ever, on anything else. Okay, there's been no more questions. So thank you everyone for attending this meetup on your lunch hour. And thank you, Gerard.
Yeah.
I will see you around at another SharePoint Saturday on the East Coast.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you all for joining.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye.